better than one.
Of course, yeah.
So
we definitely need
for the
that in
future of the
House.
state, I really want to see 2 congressional seats.
Right.
Regardless of who's the candidates, I just love to see the seats.
Right. 2 more questions about politics. Rhode Island Democrats, obviously, like you said, Gina Raimondo is term limited. Do you see any upcoming Democrats that when she exits office that may run for governor that look good for the Democratic Party?
Well, I'm sure the general treasurer wants to run. I'm sure the mayor of Providence would like to run. I'm sure here, as I say, Nerona, the attorney general, is definitely, I think, the front runner. But because I didn't have an opponent, no Republican against him, and he does a good job. I mean, he did a great job as U.S. attorney, and I think he's a strong candidate if he decides to run.
Right, now I agree. So let's move on to the Democratic nomination for the national election to go against Donald J. Trump, the president right now.
Well, I'm trying to look at it politically. Right. I kind of think if Biden wins the nomination and he runs, and I think he'd probably only do it for 1 year. I mean, one term. Oh, okay. I think so. I think he would be too old. Yeah. But, I balancing the ticket, I would like to see Biden and the senator from California.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, yeah, she's a minority, and she's from California. And Biden is strong with labor. Right. He comes from Delaware, which is no plus because it's a small state. So, but he's Northeast. He's been, he ran, he got on the ticket. Obama selected him because of his experience in foreign relations and all his years in the Senate. So I still think I think he's a good candidate. And I think you got to bring the American people together. I don't like to see this white supremacist it was in Charlottesville. I mean, that's ridiculous. Crazy. It's crazy. And I'm liberal, but it's not for the best thing for the country.
Right, and just to hit on that one more time, what do you see? We've seen in the nomination fight, obviously Biden's ahead in a few states. We've seen also Senator Sanders, who ran against Secretary of State Clinton last time, doing extremely well too, and also Elizabeth Warren doing extremely well. I know you said Joe Biden. Well, what is your take on both of those two senators, obviously from neighboring states in Vermont and Massachusetts?
Yeah, I think, some questions they ask them, I hear, maybe it's from Republican, maybe I was watching, which I don't usually watch Fox, but they say Bernie Sanders, the money to have health care for all is just not there. I think the health care, there's a lot of ways you have to save money. Here I am, 80 years old. Do I need my teeth washed clean by a dentist twice a year? Or can I get it done once a year? I mean, there's some costs that you got to save the cost. Everybody got to pull back. The medical profession, the insurance companies, everybody has to look at the big picture. It's staggering today if you get a serious illness. If you're not insured, you're wiped out.
Right. No, I agree with that. That's a big problem in this country. So we have to, whoever gets the nomination on the Democratic side has to get that sorted out with the health care.
In 2008, when Obama got elected, he did a fantastic job. In 2009, with the auto industries, he lent the money. He saved the auto industry. He saved the banks. That he doesn't get any credit for that. Yeah, really, he does. He should have. He did a great job. He's a bright guy. He's very good on his feet, and he's a brilliant guy.
I gotta say that was my first vote, and I did vote for Hillary in the primary in Rhode Island, and then obviously I voted for Obama in the general election in Florida, where I'm registered in Florida because I feel like nothing against Rhode Island. I'm still of Rhode Islander, but Florida's got those 29 electoral votes, and we got to make sure, as you said, the Democrat gets those. As long as the electoral college keeps going, we got to make sure the Democrats get those votes.
When I first retired, I went down to Florida. I lived there, and I voted there one time in Naples 1 year. But now I come back and re-registered at East Greenwich.
Right.
But Florida's a big state. I thought the Democrat was going to win in Florida, the Senate.
Snelson.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was. Maybe I'm just optimistic. I love to see the Democrats take control of the Senate. I I mean, this Mitch McConnell is just,
Yeah,
he's too tough.
He's a crook, but
He's too tough. He's just unreasonable.
yeah, the Democrat for the Senate was, like you said, Bill Nelson. He lost by 12,000 votes. There was a lot of issues. If you remember, just quick to go back to that, if you remember at that time period, they had that guy that was a nutcase. He sent those bombs to Hillary and Obama.
Yes.
That went through a Miami office. There was a lot of ballots that were being mailed in by elderly voters and just regular college kids through that station that did not get counted because of the Florida rules. So there was talks that if those votes were counted, that he may have won that race, but that's water over the dam now.
Yeah.
To go into the last question on Trump. I mean, we've seen all the crazy stuff he did. You brought up the Charlottesville ones. He meets with all these crazy dictators, bows down to them like they're God, and he's done all kinds of other crazy things. What do you think for, I know you mentioned Biden and Harris, but what do you think for a Democratic candidate, what it will take for them to beat Trump?
Well, I think definitely you have to get your base, and the base of the Democratic Party is, particularly in Rhode Island, you know, it's organized labor. Labor's got to be on board, definitely, and they seem to be with Biden. He has to have labor, and he has to have the liberals. And you know, the ones that seem to be independent, they call them the soccer moms, the suburban moms that drive their kids to soccer. I can't see. I mean, the way Trump treats women, I can't see. And if they have any morals, and they really believe in women being equal, and they could cast their vote for Trump, I can't see it. I don't think he has he does show any respect, has shown any respect for women at all, and disrespect. That's what he's shown, and I can't see them. I can't. If the Democrat, well, these swing states, Hillary didn't even go into Wisconsin. She didn't go into Michigan. She didn't go into you know, people might have felt slighted. I mean, that was ridiculous for a person like her, been around. Her husband was so political that she didn't go into Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Iowa, and grab those states, those swing states.
Right.
That was terrible.
Yeah, those have been in the Democratic column for years upon years.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, I had a campaign in Republican districts. I went up there, and when I first ran, I didn't know what to expect. I wanted them to say, see me, and then make your decision. But at least I want them to see me. I went there.
Even if you lose the votes, you might lose by less.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But but the thing that I worry about, and I'll leave it with this on Trump, is that Trump, Hillary won 55% of the vote in Rhode Island, which is a huge margin. But Trump did get 40%, and that was more by a Republican in quite a long time. And I do worry about his con artist ways and the way he manipulates people on TV. And he's a hell of a salesman, great media guy, that he will manipulate these people if we don't have a real great candidate. And I do agree with you on points about Biden and stuff, but he is a con artist.
Yeah, I think Biden is got some heart. I mean, he's got a family. I mean, his son was a colonel in the Marines. Right. His wife is a doctor. He had a tragedy in his life with the two kids getting killed and his wife. So I mean, he wanted to leave the Senate, and I think I heard him speak at Pell's funeral, and he was very good. He's warm. He's good. I think he was a great asset to Obama because of his foreign relations experience. I think his whole life has been in Washington and been in politics. So I think he's a good candidate. I really do. And I think Kamala Harris. Look, John Kennedy took Lyndon Johnson. Bobby Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, they just hated each other. But it was a marriage that they had to make, or he wouldn't have won Texas and he wouldn't have won the presidency. So I think Biden's got to pick a vice president candidate. I think Elizabeth Warren is very liberal, very good on her feet, and but I think, you know, they come from the same tooth. And Sanders, they're all from this neck of the woods. They're all from the Senate. I think she's a young person, younger than them. Warren's 70, and the other guy's 78. Bernie. So I can't see it. I think you got to get a young blood. Maybe it's Cory Booker, but he's from the Northeast. He's from the New Jersey. I can't see it. I like the lady in the Midwest, but I don't know if she brings enough. Klobuchar.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if she brings enough
Great.
assets to the table. I think California is a big state, and I would want someone from California if I was Biden.
Right.
Or if I'm in the Democratic Party calling the shots, I have to do California.
Well, time will tell as the election rolls on. But I want to get into the last two areas of where you really made big spots on your life as far as the philanthropy and also in banking industry. Let's talk about philanthropy. I drive around all over the state of Florida. I just drove up here with my family to Rhode Island and North Carolina. I see this too, and all over Rhode Island, of course, too. Homeless people all over the place. I know you made big impacts at Crossroads, which I really commend you for. And these are the people that are the downtrodden and that really desperately need our help. What is your take on, not just in Rhode Island, but all over the country, like I said, homelessness? What's your take on that?
There's some people that won't, even if you gave them a shelter, they won't take it. I don't know I don't know the exact percentage, but there are people that just won't live in an apartment, and they want to live, maybe it's some of them have mental illness, some of them maybe have some stress from the military, but they won't. But it's hard to say. My heart goes out to someone that's a parent with kids and doesn't have a place, a family home or a residence or an apartment. That's really troubles me. I think we just got to do more of it. We got to make it a priority, particularly for families. As I say, I've seen people that they have their Social Security or they have their veterans pension, and they won't live in an apartment. They want to live out
because they're used to it.
Public facilities or whatever. They won't get an apartment.
My thing that I worry about is we see a lot of people that are middle class. We see a lot of kids. I see that in Florida. I see a lot of, and I know it's a different state and there's different stuff going on in both states. We see in Florida a lot of kids are homeless. They're living in hotels. Like I said, you've donated and done a lot of stuff with Crossroads here in the state of Rhode Island. You've done a lot of stuff on homelessness. How do you feel like we can kind of get to the majority of these people? A lot of these people lost their houses in the 2008 crash. And like I said, a lot of these people are middle class people and they just are living in their cars, are living on the street because they don't have that kind of income to make ends meet.
Yeah, well, you have in Providence, you have the Smith Hill as a neighborhood association. Olneyville has this, West End has a housing association. Of course, the Providence Housing Authority. You got to expand them because there's a need out there. You got to support them, and they already have a platform. They already have they're in business. So I think you expand the organizations that are in it now, like the homeless. I knew the lady that used to run that, Judge Crawshaw's wife. I think the work and increase and support the existing agencies that we have.
Do you think the federal government and the states, such as...
I think everybody's got to be involved. I really do.
Do you think they're helping out?
Federal, state, there's always, room to improve, and there's always new ideas. We should. Young people with ideas, fresh ideas, you got to listen to them. Take the example, the arcade. They said they're going to make it a 600 square feet apartment for one people. Boom, they sold out. And it was so good, Paolino went down the block and started doing it. So there's a need. People, like when your dad and me, I didn't think I'd ever live in downtown Providence. But now the younger people, they like it. They want to get on their
motorbikes
and their ducks and their bird, whatever they call those scooters. And they want to live differently. Young people think differently than me. My generation, we're more. You got a job, you stay there all your life, usually in a profession or with a company, or you retired from the state, if you were in public service, you usually stayed your whole career there. But the young kids today, they're not as, and they're getting married later and later,
Right.
so they're not having families when they're in their 20s. It's a different ballgame.
So you've also done a lot of philanthropy, such as where I went to high school, LaSalle Academy, Providence College, a lot of other different colleges, and also other organizations. What makes you want to give back to, like I said, these colleges and also other organizations?
I didn't go to LaSalle Academy, but I feel comfortable with the Christian education environment. I met the brothers. I looked at the leadership up there. I just think it was great with Brother Michael and now his brother Dennis. I'm very impressed with him. If he asked me to support an endeavor, I've been involved with trying to work with them to get some of the property from that the water department has. It's contaminated property, but the administration is doing a comprehensive study of all city property, which doesn't make sense. I can disagree with the mayor, and I strongly do. The councilwoman in the area is the one that's fielding all the complaints, because it's all right in September because they're 15, but as the year goes out, those sophomores become 16 and then bring cars to school.
Right.
Comes May, it's like a chaos around.
Well, I remember that. I didn't. I had to park on the street. We had to park far away from LaSalle and walk over there, and there's somebody else's property. And me, I'm thinking all day long, worried about, is somebody going to call the cops on my car? Is my car going to get towed? And like you said, it would be great if they had a bigger parking facility. Plus, even during the games, and they have a beautiful sports facility all over there. The football field, the soccer field now too is beautiful. And how great the teams are. They attract a lot of people. If we could get a bigger area for parking, it would be amazing.
Definitely, and it's. I met with him a couple of times, and it just doesn't make sense. And I support the councilwoman there. I would be more good. It's good for Mayor Awarza that he's not dealing with me, because I would I would be very, very forceful and vocal and make life uncomfortable. I mean, I go off to the east side and I see a lot of signs I never saw before in my life. They weren't there when I was a councilman. Say, this is Brown staff, this is for Brown this is for Brown. Whoa, what's wrong with LaSalle? They're a 150-year-old institution in the city of Providence. They don't pay taxes, neither does Brown pay taxes. They make some donations, but LaSalle is a great community asset. I mean, there's 200 students from Cranston that go there, 200 from Massachusetts that go to LaSalle, another 50 from South County. So, hey, my grandchildren come from Kent County. When they drive up every day, three of them, to go to LaSalle. I like the religious aspects of the school. I like the leadership of the school. I like the academics in the school, and I like the diversity of the school. It's 23% minority. I like that. My scholarship is for people from the boys club and low income, not from the country club. Need based is my.
Well, we need more people like you holding these politicians accountable. So we've got a lot of these politicians, they're just sitting pretty in their seats, and year after year, they don't have anybody putting pressure, like you said, on a lot of these politicians. But let's go into banking. And this is the last segment, what got you into the financial world?
What got me into the financial world is by accident. I wanted to go to Providence College, and there was 10 Providence policemen that Providence College kind of altered some schedules for them so they could get college degrees. And I liked that. So I went to Father Dorr. He looked at my grades in high school. He said they weren't great, but you do have potential. he gave me a name of a tutor and said, finish off, you only took 1 year of Spanish, get 2 years. I got the second year. You didn't have geometry or trigonometry, get me a year of geometry. So I went out and went to a tutor. So I said, that's fine. Now I'm academically, I'm in. Yeah. And I said, well, I got the military hanging over my head. Can I get a deferment? Yes, you can. Go in, get it over with. So I went into service for 2 years, and it's probably the best thing I ever did in my life, because when I got out of the Army, there was no police school again, and so I said, my cousins were in the finance business, and they said, you got to come and work with us. Don't wait, come now while you're young, and we don't, you got to see if you like it. And I didn't like it at first, to be honest. My heart was set on being a cop, but I did. Then it came easy to me, and I'm saying, gee, this is a piece of cake. I just kind of looked at credit and could see the value of who was creditworthy, who wasn't, and let's look at their assets, look at their income, you look at the value, look at their what they had. It was simple. I mean I just kind of took to it in a way, and if you move an account this way, it helps your income, and if you don't, depending on the credit cards you have, how many credit cards you have, how many type of property you have, how long you've been on the job, what type of job it is, and things like that. I mean, you can get a phony credit app and say, oh yeah, my income is from tips. I'm a bartender, and then I drive for I bartend, and I get tips and waiter and waitresses, and I do all kind of stuff under the table. But that person is, you can't. They're not substantial. You can't give them the money. You can't prove your income. You don't get a loan. They tried that, and that's what the crisis came in. Right. 2007, 8. It really crashed. I got affected by that. Every bank did, to be honest. It was just amazing. And Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae got into the business. Who were the gurus? They were like the agency. They set the standards. They were quasi-government, and they got into the subprime business. I never got into subprime business. I was always in non-conforming. Well, what do you mean about that? We stretched a little bit of the credit guidelines on income, but we verified the income. In other words, we gave them a little more credit, credit for the rental income that they had. Or then we took medical people, doctors. You got a surgeon. He's got no money. He laughs at you. You say, your last 2 years income, please, sir? He laughs. I was in medical school. I got $400,000 in debt. Right. I'm going to pay you. And
so, how did that specifically to go into the recession, the 2008 crisis that started probably in 2005, 2006, and really quick?
Oh, it started in about 2003, and then when they
but how did
Freddie
it
Mac and Fannie Mae, they want the thinking of the country, Democrats, was that wanted to have more people homeowners, and some of them weren't qualified. And then the speculation on condos and buy one condos, and then the real estate appraisers were in cahoots with the builders, the banks, investment bankers. It was a whole chain that got greedy. Huh? Got greedy. We didn't do it. We didn't buy it. We still have loans that we sold to Wall Street. We did the home equity was our niche. And prior to 1970, when Fleet got approval from the comptroller of the currency back in 1970, they saturated the Rhode Island market and said, gee, this is good. And they wanted to go out of Rhode Island. So I was a realtor, a mortgage broker, realtor, insurance, and then they asked me if I would interested in originating some mortgages for them on the home equity side in Massachusetts, because they didn't want to offend their neighbors, their correspondent relationships with the banks. So I just took their ad, put my name on it, formed a corporation, and it worked. It went very well. So I devoted most of my time just to being a mortgage broker then. I didn't take anybody's house to sell it. I just kept mortgage brokering. And then the interest rates in 74, 75 went up. I couldn't earn a fee. There was no broker's fee because your limit, you could only charge, let's say, 12%. And I'm giving the bank the mortgage and the bank wants 12%, you participate in the, or you charge a fee up front. Some states wouldn't let you charge a broker fee up front. So that was a problem. Some of them, the interest that they were earning, there was no, they needed that spread. They couldn't pay me anything.
Right.
So when I bought this charter, it was a Rhode Island bank charter. The concept was for industrial, they call them industrial charters. Rhode Island call them loan and investments. California calls them thrifts. Baltimore had them. Not every state had these charters, but Rhode Island did, and they call it an industrial bank. In other words, you segregate, you just lend to, let's say, people of blue collar industries, and you get the deposits from them, and you get their loans, and then even some of the capital.
So what gave you that idea to start the bank?
Well, I saw a need. I knew that the home equity was a big thing, and going to be a big thing, because banks at that time, if you wanted to consolidate your bills, and you only could get 3 years on a personal loan. So if you had a personal loan, you had a car loan, you had maybe a student loan, and your daughter or son is going into college or getting married, and you could only borrow for 36 months. And you're sitting on a house with a 4% mortgage from after the war. They could be a VA, FHA, or just a conventional mortgage. Your first mortgage is 4%, and your house, you paid like $6,000 for it. It's now worth $21,000, and your balance of your mortgage is down to $4,000. Banks would like to give you $5,000 or $10,000, but the current rates were on 4%. They're at 8 or 9.
Right.
So there was a need to say, leave that 4% mortgage in place. I'll give you $10,000. You'll only pay 8 or 9%, or maybe even lower. But don't touch that 4% first mortgage, because all the interest has been paid up front, and now most is going towards principal. So take a short-term home equity loan, take care of the debts you have, and take care of the current need you have, but don't touch the mortgage. And then you'd have a 4,000 first, a 10,000 second, and you're still, property is worth 21, 25. It's grown in equity because you've been in maybe 10 years. So those were good loans. But once you stretch the term from 36 months to 10, it made it all, you could pay off all the other little credit cards that you had, or like Sears had 70% credit cards in the state of Rhode Island. So they were dominant in the state. Now they were getting 12 and 18% on there. You purchase something that says they had a very lucrative portfolio of consumer loans that they were consumer. You took a loan out, but you used it for put a garage on your house, put an addition on your house, and you went through Sears and they subbed it out to a contractor. But they had the debt, and they made a lot of money on that debt. So I could see where it was going to be take off. It didn't, like New York didn't come in. You couldn't get a second mortgage in New York because the usury law said nobody pay, if you own your own home in a residential property, the maximum interest rate anybody could charge you was 12%. Well, in the crisis of like in 1979 to 82, interest rates got up to 21%. So people in New York couldn't get a second mortgage. They couldn't get a home equity loan. So I did operate in those states, and I was probably getting 15%. But it was a lot. You could do it. And then I would sell them to General Electric Credit, or I'd sell them to B of A, which is now B of A, which was Fleet. I had two major corporations buying the paper from me. So I had deep pockets. They wasn't my money. They paid me a commission to do it. So I was acting as a mortgage broker for General Electric and Fleet at the time. So it was a lucrative, but I could see it was growing and growing. Now New York came out with their own law. Connecticut came out with a law. It changed. California had it, and California was. I couldn't do business in California without a physical presence there. We tried, and it just didn't work. I mean, so California's 35 million people on the books legitimately, and then there's another probably 5 million that
Not on the books. Legally, yeah.
illegally there. Yeah. So California's like a country of itself, and they always had second mortgages, and it was so East Coast, West Coast had them. Like Rhode Island had a favorable law, but when they were capped at 15%, Rhode Island, and this loan and investment charter that I bought, I held it in the drawer for 5 years, didn't activate it. When interest rates started going to 22% in Rhode Island, then I activated it. Said I had no choice but to continue it. And then the consumer was very shy. Say they didn't borrow, so they waited out this high interest rate, and then they came down. And then we were in place. We started taking in deposits. We were lending our own money. We got $100 million in deposits, and then started lending that money out, and mostly in home equity. All of it was in home equity loans. I didn't do personal loans. I wanted the security. I felt comfortable with real estate. I'm a real estate lender. I feel very good with commercial and residential, small commercial, not big stuff like if a plumber needs a storefront, and I got it. Some of these drugstores, single family. Then we had gas stations, but mostly we had we got into the hotel business just as the Indians were getting into the business, and they were very good borrowers. So I've made a lot of Patel loans. A lot of them are in the industry. So we introduced them to SBA, and they liked it. And then United States Department of Agriculture, they have a business and industry division. We were the first ones, and probably to do business with United States Department of Agriculture, business and industry. So we become experts with that, expert at SBA lending, and we did small business, and we did home equities.
So
that was our niche.
Sorry to interrupt. So let me ask you this last question. You've owned a bank, you know a lot about real estate, you know a lot about these industries. Obviously, we talked about earlier in the interview, the 2008 crash. We hear all these rumblings on the internet, online, about there could be another crash. We usually see a crash almost every 10 years, and we're about maybe...
It's not going to be the crisis you saw in 2000, because there's no... banks have been very conservative.
They talk about student loans now.
Student loans, I never did a student loan. I think there's too many of them. I think it's too high, and I think, no, here's how a student loan. Young people aren't buying houses because they can't get qualified because there's a student debt. I had one last week. As a personal favor, they asked me to intercede, look at their credit, tell me what I think. I said, hey, you're not going to get a mortgage because your student debt is too high. It's too much student debt. It really is.
So do you think? So you don't think that?
And that's hurting the housing industry.
Right. But we see houses back up to those high prices that we've seen in that 2005, 2006, 300, 400, and some of these houses are little kind of smaller houses. So you don't think there's any kind of
there's a shortage of people didn't go out, and prior to the crisis in 2008, you had people speculating.
True.
There's no builders building a whole plot saying they'll sell, they'll go. They're not. They're building to specific needs. If you got a house, you got a lot, then I'll build it.
So what is the talk?
Pre-approval? Okay.
So what is the talk about all this recession?
I think you got to do something with the student loan debts to reduce it. I don't know what you do, how you handle it. I mean, I see the first 2 years of community college now is free. I think it should be at all state colleges.
So you think there could be a lot of people now that it's going to be a huge
they're not in the housing market because they're student debt.
Exactly. Right, defaulting on huge student debt.
And if I'm a contractor, I want them to be pre-approved. I want to see the approval that they can get a mortgage, because you'll be sitting there with a lot of...
And the real last question, what is your life's goal? You've done all these things in your life. What was the biggest goal that you accomplished in your life, I should say?
I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
No, I really don't. I don't know. I mean, I'm satisfied. God forbid if God took me tomorrow morning.
Right. Well, I should say.
Yeah.
in the banks and real estate.
You know, you
With all these
always.
politics.
I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time, and God's wisdom was and played a hand in my life, no question about it. You know, I've been blessed. So I think I was blessed. Made the right decisions, right place at the right time, took the right risk, and didn't get crazy. So I do like, and I like investing now. I own some hotels and participated in ownership of them. So, you know, right price comes, I sell them.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I thank everybody for listening to Mr. Murphy. Like I said, he is an amazing guy. He's done so much in the community in the state of Rhode Island. And also, I'm grateful that you've done a lot, like I said, knowing all your story now through all this homelessness stuff, also with LaSalle, because I went there. And also, just like you said, all these stories that, you know, a guy like me that's young as me doesn't know all these political get out the vote stuff that now politicians, like we talked about, Barack Obama using them, and the next person for the Democratic Party is going to have to start thinking about
You're
this.
going to have to be grassroots. You're going to have to count every vote. You got to know your votes. I mean, you got to
70,000 votes. That's why
I
would
would chase nobody on the on the west side. I wanted people on the east side because they were my votes.
Right.
They were up there, up in Prospect Street, and someone said, "Do you know John Doolittle?" No, I don't. Leave him alone. If you said, "Oh, do you know Harry Harrington?" Oh, where's he live? Oh, he's on Preston Street. Good chance he's a Democrat. I'm after him.
Right.
I said to my people, don't stop till we get him.
Well, if they had you in the Hillary Clinton campaign, they probably would have won because they only lost by 70,000 votes. So, yeah, that was a tough one. But hopefully, like I said, we get somebody that can get out the vote. But I appreciate your time, Mr. Murphy. You are a gem to the state of Rhode Island because of all the knowledge that you bring. And not even just the knowledge, like I said, all the things that you've done for the state. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much,
so
Rob.
much.
My pleasure, and I'm a great fan of your families. Your dad was with me in the early stages of my political career, and he was a great worker and a great friend.
All right, I appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Make sure you go to Conversations with Rob, look at this interview and also all the other great interviews we have, whether it's on politics, etc. So please subscribe and share this video. Thanks so much.